257-5396. And Annette Bubek is in studio with Facebook Live. Good morning, Annette.
Good morning.
So when we went to break, we were talking about caulking, and what caulking is for is sealing up those little cracks and things around windows and molding, and wall plates is one place people forget. The walls go down onto the concrete, and there needs to be a seal down there, so caulking or foam is always good there. So let's talk more about that, caulking, and you were talking about air seal. So
yeah. As Rebecca was talking, air leakage across the country is our number one source of heat loss, heat gain. You know, we prefer just to heat and cool the air that we're living in rather than outside. And by air sealing, we can cut down on pests. You can get rid of your pest control companies if bugs don't have a way in. And we also find it's one of the best ways to improve indoor air quality. And especially in our hot climate, our number one place to seal is our connections to the most extreme temperatures, our attic. And so especially we find all these homes now with recessed lights that are just sitting there, and in their summers, heat naturally flows to the cold. So as Rebecca was saying, air sealing, we want to start at the top. The best air quality is going to come through our windows and doors. So let's start at the top first and benefit from reduced bugs, increased comfort, and air quality.
right, so sealing those plates where your walls meet the concrete is a very good idea. It seems like the bugs are kind of right there at that same level where your cracks in your walls are going to be. So getting foam out down there and foam those out, and using caulking down there, foam's better because it doesn't deteriorate with the water and what have you. And seal those up, get your airflow, and get your bugs out. So close your home to the bugs and the air. And again, air infiltration is the number one heat loss. So it's a wonderful thing. And then back to insulation. Being from the Midwest, we always thought, well, you insulate so the heat doesn't escape. And here, I never really thought about it until I started talking to the insulation people. It's just the opposite. The heat actually radiates down through the ceiling into the space because it gets so hot in the attic. You always say heat rises, it's not going to come down here, but it gets so hot it radiates down. So without that insulation, that's what you get. So Rebecca, tell us some more about insulating and what you look for and how you get the house sealed up.
Well, some things people don't realize. They know that it's hot in the attic, but if you told them, depending on which area their house faces, some attics are a little hotter than other, depending on shade trees and how much heat or sun exposure they're getting. But you go up in an attic, and it's they could be from range of 140 to 160 degrees. Oh. So if you really think about it, the house works as a system. And so if your ductwork is only, I think it's an R8 now, but most of these houses we're dealing with, they're an R4, an R6, and the ductwork itself. And so, which is very, very nominal, and we'll talk more about R later. But, so your investment starts in the ductwork as soon as the unit kicks on. And it's running through this very low R, ductwork into this really, really hot attic. And so you're not really gaining anything for quite a while when it comes out of the register. And so if you could, air seal in that attic, so that way that, that heating and cooling that you're paying for stays in your house longer, number one. Number two, there's ways of doing like radiant barriers in the attic, especially because we live in the desert, and our heating degrees are 4 or 5 months out of the year pretty hot. And so if we could stop the radiant heat transfer as soon as it hits the attic, it takes it away. So now that attic can be from 155 degrees down to maybe 90, and it's still warm, don't get me wrong, but it does make a huge difference. And so as an insulator, when you're getting in there and it's in the middle of the summer, you're like, man, this attic is hot.
You're cooking in there, really.
Yeah.
155 degrees, yeah.
Well, my experience is it doesn't need to be summer. It's hot up there. Because I had mine done in May, and in early May, just sticking your head above the ceiling, you could just feel that heat instantly.
And, for most people, and if you're listening to this, it's just to educate is, it's a privilege to be on the show and talk about it, but if you're just curious, one of the things when I go out to see a customer and I'm explaining to them what I'm going to do, what I'm looking for, and again, is we're looking to be able to, what areas of the house can we reach? Can we reach everything? We don't want to charge them for areas that we can't get to. There might be blocked off areas that for certain framing that are not accessible, that we would exclude from our scope of work. But, what can we get to? What areas that we need to seal real well? There's knee walls that are basically walls that separate ceiling heights. So maybe you have a vaulted ceiling. You have one ceiling that's 10 feet tall, and in the next room it's maybe 14 feet tall, and say a master bedroom or a great room or something like that. And those walls that separate those spots just leak so bad because they're not protected on both sides. You have the drywall side, which is the side you're looking at, of course, in the room, and then on the attic side, which is where I live, you see the insulation, and it's not protected on the other side. And we're just getting better and better with our building codes and building to make homes perform better, but we're dealing with homes that that don't have those privileges, and so we can come back and fix those. By doing all that, it revelations the whole house and performance and comfort.
I was going to add to what Rebecca's saying. What makes insulation work? And insulation works by stopping air movement. And the only way insulation works is if it's installed per manufacturer, which says against an air barrier. I think we were talking about what do we find in attics. A lot of times we may find insulation, but it's installed so ineffectively, homeowners not getting the benefit. We find that detail is pretty consistent with a lot of the quality is what's missing. Most homes have the materials, but the installation quality is their number one issue.
What I found when I went into my attic is over all the years, and I just got a house that's almost 50 years old, over the years while people are doing speaker installations, cable installations, thermostat wire installations, they just move that insulation to get to the studs where they want to nail it down or go through the walls. They never move it back. So I actually had like half a room that had no insulation whatsoever on top of the sheetrock. And in the other areas, it's 2-3 inches thick. It needs to be, how thick does it need to be, Rebecca? Tell us about
code is our 30.
But how deep is that?
38 and different. It's 10 inches for fiberglass, 8 inches for cellulose. Depends. There's fiberglass products and cellulose products, and each of those per manufacturers have different requirements of thicknesses for the R factor. And a lot of the times, though, I would say maybe 80% of the time that I go into an attic, it's generally around an R19 in most homes. So they're not even to code, and code to me is just above failure.
And what's code looking for? R what?
R30,
R30.
And R38 in different jurisdictions, but between 30 and 38, depending on where you live.
Okay. So your insulation needs to be like a foot deep up there.
Yeah.
And when I had mine done, I've had them go up to like 18 inches. So it makes a tremendous difference instantly on the feel of your house. Your house has a consistent temperature throughout. And when you get your ductworks cleaned or changed, now you got clean air. One of the dead giveaways, if you will, is when the air conditioner first comes on, go feel the air coming out of your ductwork. If it's hot, you've got a problem up there. If it's warm and then cools pretty quickly, you're probably all right. But you should all have it inspected, and NV Energy will do a free inspection. So you might as well have them come, then call Les and get the job done right. And we'll talk more about that when we come back. Shades of Green on KDW, and we'll be right back.